Hello and welcome. I'm Andy Alberlin, and I thought today I would show some of my tips and tricks when it comes to working with old wood and bringing natural beauty out. So with this, the question is bonfire or bookcase? Most people would take a piece of wood like this and just throw it in the fire, which it would be good for that. But I'm going to show you how taking basically junk, supplies, and then turning it into something that's functional and beautiful. And this particular bookcase is for I'm doing my office remodel, and I'm always short on space, so I wanted to just make a bookcase to fit in and hold some important books and documents, things like that. So, I mean, you always have stuff you have to get around. We have nails in here and lots of splinters. I get lots of those. So, really, I've ripped all these boards to width. 7 inches is our bookcase. And these are all just the pieces, the shelves. They have to be cut to length. This is actually the top. It's a live edge piece of maple that I've had on my wood rack for, I couldn't even tell you how long, maybe decades. So I figured we'd use that. Some more shelves. You know, and even sometimes you run into, you have an issue, it's cracked. No big deal. We'll fix that. So really, here's all our pieces. And I'm just gonna pull the nails, and then I'm gonna go cut all the boards to length, and then we'll be ready to sand. Okay, so now I've pulled all my nails and I've cut all of my shelf material to the appropriate width. It's 25 inches. So really, all we have to do now is clean up these boards. And for that, we're going to use the palm sander with 80 grit. And I'm really not looking to make these look real perfect. If anything, I really like them when they have a little flaws. Like this board here, it has a couple of handmade nails, and I like to leave those in there if they're there. If we have this one here, it has a little bit of damage to it, and I'm just going to take I'll just take my trim nailer and just pop a nail in there, and that'll fix that. I don't want to start the compressor right now because it's really noisy. But so we'll fix that, so that's no big deal. So really, I have on these boards, they're all ripped to 7 inches. And so this is the back, so we don't even worry about that. And what I like to do, I like to keep one of the original edges here, because it's been, 100 years worth of weather and things of that nature that have made this kind of nice patina to the board. So all we really want to do is clean it up. We don't want to lose that, and we want all the front of our shelves to have this nice little patina rounded edge. So I'll clean one up and show you how it goes. See, I've really only just cleaned that board up and made it so that it doesn't have splinters and So we have our shelf parts. They're over here, they're all stained, they're ready to go. So I wanted to just show you some of our rustic accents that we're going to use. And in this case, this is just a pine branch from, I have some pine trees out in my yard. And it does help if they're dead branches, or this one's been cut for a while. I think I've had it sitting over here in my wood pile. So it does help if it's dry. If the bark is coming off pretty easily, then you shouldn't have any problem with this. So I just want to show you how you take a stick that's essentially a piece of firewood and make it into a nice trim piece. So really the first thing that we have to do is to get all these nubs off from where branches had come off. For that, a lot of times I'll use my multi-tool, or if you have a sawzall or a jigsaw, that would work too. Handsaw, anything just to cut these off. So I'm going to cut them off real quick, and then we'll hit it with the palm sander, and it'll come out beautiful. Alright, so now you can see they got all the little nubs off, and then really we're just smoothing it out with the sander, getting this bark off and cleaning it up. See, it cleans it up really nicely. So I'll tend to just fine tune these little areas. They had the branches. I don't want to have anything my finger will catch on. And I'll just continue to smooth that out. And then I'm going to take it to the table saw, and we'll find the straightest part of it, and I'm going to rip it in half. And then we'll come back to it, okay? Okay. So you can see here now we have our nice cleaned up stick that has been ripped in half on the table saw, and so we'll be able to just use it as a piece of trim. And I've sanded off all the sharp edges and everything, so it's just a really nice, smooth, pretty piece of wood. And then I've taken a few minutes and started to prepare our live edge top. We'll be just keeping a little bit of bark here. And I just did a quick sand and a round over on this part. And so now we're just going to, really our last step before we get ready to assemble is to, I like to stain everything ahead of time, and I'm just using some amber shellac. It goes on really quick. I'm just using this cheap little chip brush. It dries in about 15-20 minutes, and then you can recoat it. It's not as durable as polyurethane, which you could also use, but we don't really need that durability. We just want to get, especially on the pine, this really nice kind of amber glow. If you were just to use a clear on it, it would stay pretty white. So I like to use this amber on there, and as you can see, it really turns that pine into a really nice warm color. And so that's it. You just wiping it on there with the brush. You don't have to worry about brush lines, lap lines, any of that. This stuff is very forgiving. Super simple. So there's our piece of trim. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with the top, which should also give us a really nice light wood. And this maple happens to have all the little wormholes in it. And you can still see some striping, which is from the chainsaw, and then some wood grain behind it. So it's a really nice, just a rustic wood. Nothing perfect about any of this stuff that I'm using. As a matter of fact, each of these pieces are as imperfect as they could get. And you wouldn't think that that works out, but trust me when I tell you, it works out in the end. You just work with the imperfections, and it gives you a really beautiful, unique piece, which we're just going to let these pieces dry and give them another coat. And then we're going to be ready to start assembling. All right, so now we have all our parts made, stained, ready to roll. So now all we have to do is assemble the carcass and get the trim on there. So I've already marked out using my carpenter's square. I've already marked out the location of my shelves. So really all I have to do is start putting it together, and hopefully it'll all go together like it's supposed to. When you're assembling stuff like this, orientation is very important. I've chosen a good side and a bad side for each of these, so I want my good side to be up. Same with, I want my good edge to be out the way that you're going to see it, and same with stuff facing on the outside here. So it takes a little bit of messing around to figure it out. mistakes. And you know what? That's okay. I was told when I started doing woodworking that a master is not one that doesn't make mistakes, but knows how to correct them. So here I oriented that shelf the wrong way. So I just pull the shelf off, snap off my finished nails, and I try again. Starting to finish up. Things are getting tighter and tighter. Sometimes you just gotta eyeball things up a little bit. That could be the fun of something, making something like that. Is it's meant to be rustic. So sometimes you just kind of eyeballing it and saying, hey, that looks good. Sometimes a little persuasion is necessary. Get things to line up. Okay, so we have our carcass assembled. I took a few minutes to charge up the compressor. I could tell it was getting low. Not something we want to hear on video. And I also took a moment to work on this live edge top. And you can see I've left some of the bark on. I just kind of made a flat surface here. And this is something I haven't really done before, so I just wanted to mock it up and see what worked and what didn't. I also took the time to cut our trim pieces to length. I cut them down at the bottom, and I got lucky because I had this really nice lobe here, and so it's going to make a really kind of a cool foot effect down here. But really all we have to do now is nail those pieces on, and then I'm actually going to use some cedar tongue and groove that I have, and I'm going to make a back for it that I'm also going to put the shellac on and it'll actually match the wainscoting in the rest of the room, but it'll just give it a nice solid back. It's going to be a real pretty piece. So I'm really excited about getting it done and moving it to its new home, which is coming up soon. Like I said, a lot of times you just eyeballing this stuff. It doesn't have to be real precise, and no one's ever going to know. Once the piece is all together, no one's going to know you didn't measure it out. As long as it looks good, that's all that matters. And sometimes, especially on rustic furniture, you get some of these kind of weird little wonky things, and you know what? It's actually better just to run with them, and just to let it be kind of organic and funky and cool, and it gives it that sense of art, rather than just being, say, a piece that you bought at Walmart or something. Very evident when you look at it that it's not factory made, and that really it's really a nice element. There it is. Looks like we have a little fine tuning to do here. No matter what, that tape measure is going to lie to you from time to time. Just something you gotta learn to get used to. Alright, but there it is. Here's our bookcase or Bonfire. She's a real beauty. Needs a little bit of touch up, a little bit of clean up. I'm going to put a back on it, but this is something that most people would have thrown in a pile and lit on fire. And instead, now you can see here, got a nice bookcase. So I'm just going to put the back on it and move it into the house. Alright, as promised, I've stained my cedar tongue and groove planks here, and I've just started putting them on the back, and I'm really just lining them up here at the top, just to keep them kind of out of the way from being visible. And I'm just using my 1 1/4" brads. It's a noisy little bugger. These cedar planks are really nice to use, and they smell incredible. They smell really good. It's nothing like the smell of cedar. And this is really a great way to shore up that bookcase too, give it some rigidity. You saw I just used my 2-inch wire nails to shoot on the shelves, and that's plenty strong for holding a row of books. If you wanted to make it stronger, you could use some trim screws, and that would really draw it together and strengthen it up. But for my purposes, just the finished nails work great. I just take my multi-tool and trim the bottom off flush just to make it nice and neat. Just like that. Move that stuff out of the way. So there it is. There you have it. There's our nice rustic bookcase. It's sturdy. It's beautiful. Really didn't cost anything more than some nails and a little bit of shellac. So probably the cedar cost about 20 bucks. So, you know, we could say this bookcase cost about $25 to make. And just took what would have otherwise been a bonfire, some firewood, and now have a functional, beautiful bookcase that be able to use and enjoy for many years. So thanks for coming along with me, and I hope you enjoyed this project. Thank you and have a great day.